everyone. One more video as for the Camino Portuguese series.
We're back.
We're back. We've not gone away. So it's been 2 weeks and a day actually since we finished the Camino Portuguese, and we've been promising to do a wrap-up video.
And promising. But here we are.
And we've had more questions even after the Q&A. So we wanted to take our time really and let everything sort of sink in.
It needed to settle a bit because we were very focused on the last, I'll say, week right after, because it was freshest in our memories.
Yeah. So basically we had a week or so of doing nothing, just sort of chilling out with friends and family, catching up on a bit of admin and things. So now everything's kind of settled in, and we've, I guess, sort of come down from that big Camino high that we were on.
Yeah, it now feels like a golden memory, not like something we're supposed to get up and walk today again.
Yeah, for quite a while afterwards, I was still feeling, especially when we were sitting eating something in a cafe or something like that.
You want to ask for a stamp?
Yeah, shall we wait? Oh, a church, you know. And still that feeling of we would be getting up and walking.
Yeah.
And that's now sort of
faded
away. So we thought now would be a great time to do the wrap up. So we've sort of collated a few questions together, and then we'll just share that and see how it goes.
Okay. Question number 1. Which health insurance did you use?
So because we are now nomadic, as we've said in other videos, we're going to be moving into a van full time. We've actually done it.
Almost.
We've been spending a week doing that. So our situation is slightly different. So ours is not just a simple sort of travel insurance.
No.
We go with a company called Safety Wing, which then insures you for health and various other things around the world. But somebody asked what did we do for health insurance, and were we concerned about it when we were in Portugal? Not at all. Someone
asked if there was pharmacies and doctors and hospitals, and there is. You see them often, so there's no shortage of those.
Lots and lots of pharmacies and signs for hospitals and various things.
It wouldn't be hard to find.
So we had no health concerns in case of problems or anything when we were in Portugal at all. We felt very safe and well looked after.
In fact, there was a whole lot of pharmacies. You can recognize them by this green blinking cross, and there's just in every little village.
Yeah, multiple even in small villages.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers that one.
What would you do differently?
That's a good question. And we've really thought about these answers. We've been doing small walks around where we are now, just chatting about these. And I think for me, the biggest one would be, despite the fact that chunky trundlers take their time, we were actually ended up in a bit of a rush because we pulled the Camino forward. So for me, I think the biggest thing would be taking more time to test the gear.
Yeah, specifically for you, because your backpack sort of hurt your shoulders a bit, and it was one you picked up the day before we set off. I mean, it's a great brand, but because Keith didn't have time to walk around with the weight in or anything, it was a bit of an issue.
Yeah, we suddenly realised in the last sort of few days that Hedwig was not going to fit well with the rest of because my backpack is exactly the same as Tina's, just a different colour. But then we realised Hedwig wouldn't fit. So, and there was other things as well, weren't they, really? But and ponchos, you know, you all saw the saga of the ponchos.
The pantsident.
Being garroted, the pantsident. So, yeah, I would...
Test your gear.
Test the gear a little bit more, would be mine. Anything...
Well, I ended up with I was trying to be clever and bought this microfiber underwear, and it didn't work for me. So I ended up having to work with 2 pairs of cotton underwear, and it was just, it worked, but it was a bit precarious. So I would, and I think my base layer of the wool one, I think I would have 2 of that and then skip the heavy heavier one that we shipped back anyway.
Yeah.
So I could have double layered those when I was cold.
I guess we kind of strayed into the other question, which was the gear question actually. But since we're doing gear, I had 2 pairs of long trousers. I had a pair of shorts. We did actually, by the time we got to about week 2 or 3, actually optimize the gear, didn't we?
Yes, when we hit the big hill, I think we scaled back a bit. I started with 4 pairs of socks. I only needed 3. So.
I would drop down to 1 pair of trousers, 1 pair of shorts. I had 1 warm top, but obviously you'd have to temper that
with the weather and your season you're going in, of course.
So I think as far as gear goes, I was actually very happy with everything except for my rucksack.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I had a bit too much, but I'll know that for next time. And you know, you have to learn yourself. So.
And we thought we'd been pretty brutal cutting down, but then we actually had 2 culling sessions, one after about a week.
Yes. Oh yeah, I started out having a bathing suit in February. What was I thinking?
And then after that, before we left Combaro to hit the hill at Armentira, we had another culling session.
But see, the weather had changed then. Then it started being in the 20s instead of 7 and 8 degrees. So we needed to straddle that a little bit.
But I think as far as gear goes, I was very happy with everything that we took.
Yeah, there's nothing I didn't use. Oh, so back to what would you do differently? We were talking about that we planned and therefore booked down to the last millimeter, and I think we're not going to do that again.
I mean, I'm glad we did it for this one.
Yeah.
I don't regret doing it at all. It actually worked out really well for us.
But in a sense, we were lucky. When we got back, there were many people. The weather was so bad that people had to get off for days because there was an actual big storm coming through and flooding and stuff.
Yeah,
we couldn't have done that. That would have messed us up. No end.
I think it would add a little bit more to the Camino as well, having a little bit more flow in there rather than the rigid. So yeah, definitely, I think.
That kind of leads into the next question, which is there any places you would have liked to spend some extra time? And because we had booked everything in, we couldn't have done that, but there was this lovely medieval
Combaro.
village. Yeah, Combaro. I would have loved to spend a day there and just walk around and soak that in.
That was pretty much our first stop on the spiritual variant.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful little medieval fishing
place. It was right on the sea.
Nice restaurants.
I'm sad we missed that. And another thing there is we didn't know the funicular doesn't go up the hill to the monastery on Mondays.
Villa de Condo, I think it is. Yeah, that huge.
I'm sad we didn't get to see that.
Iconic church at the top of the hill. So yeah, I would have liked to have spent maybe another day in Villa de Condo to have a look. It seemed like a really nice, I don't know if it's a town or a city, but it's quite big. And Combaro as well.
Yeah.
Also Pontevedra.
Yes.
Pontevedra looked really nice, and it had that great excitement going on, that big vibe, because that's where a lot of people start.
Yeah.
So
not that I'm sad about where we took our breaks. They were great. We enjoyed every single one of them.
We actually did quite well at planning that.
Yes.
Because when we really needed the rest days when we took them. So they were strategically placed for rest, not for sightseeing.
And that's the second half, I suppose. If we had been in those cities, we would not have been resting as much as we did. So.
No, our rest day in Porto ended up like a 17-kilometre walk, which
hills.
would have been one of our longest hiking days. So we actually sort of wore ourselves out, didn't we, on our rest day?
I think you kind of end up doing that
right
before the day you set up. I don't think you can avoid that.
No. Okay, what's next?
What lessons have you learned?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say that you need to be careful with when you're doing your planning. You may read on Google Maps or something else that a cafe is open and you're sort of relying on that.
Yeah, that can happen.
And then you get there and it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it hasn't been open for several years even. It's not just that it's not open that day. We got to some places that looked like they've not been open for years.
Yeah.
So I think be flexible and be prepared but we kind of did that. We never actually got caught out.
No, we didn't, but we are always the super safety people. people.
But it very much reinforced that in us, didn't
Yeah,
it, to do that.
And test your gear, people.
And also just go with the flow. Lots of times, I wouldn't say we weren't worried about things, but we were thinking, what's going to happen there? Will we find this? Will we be able to do that? And we did. The answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
You're not going to die of starvation or something on there. Just you can trust in it. Everyone always says, the Camino will provide.
It did.
And it did. Sometimes we found cafes that we had no idea about. So I think just go with the flow.
It'll be okay. You might get wet feet, but that's okay. They'll be dry tomorrow.
Yeah. So there was that, I guess.
Okay. So did the Camino change you? I don't feel like a different person. I don't feel changed as such, but for me it reinforced my priorities, I suppose is the way to say it, and it gave me more confidence, and I know I can walk 20 kilometers now. I mean, it might hurt, but I'll get there, and it made me believe that I can do more stuff, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think when people say, did it change you, I guess I do feel different in that I've now done a through hike, a long distance through hike, and we know that we can walk 400 kilometers, 200 and odd miles.
I mean, I was slightly concerned that walking for 30 days would sort of build up and it would start hurting my joints and my knees and stuff, but that didn't happen. I did feel stronger. I was tired and sore, sure, but it didn't feel like it was mounting up to be damaging.
So I guess it's changed us in that we now have more confidence in our abilities.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can do things. I mean, people walk, thousands of miles on the AT and the PCT. So it's not that we didn't think it was possible.
Maybe not for us, though.
But for us, yeah. And we've had some marvellous comments from so many people saying...
Thank you for that.
That you guys have given me confidence that I can go and do this Camino, which is absolutely awesome. We're thrilled to bits about that. Yeah. But it did that for us too. It's shown us that we can do long distance through hikes. So I guess that's the biggest way that it's changed me, if anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And actually building on to that, something about the distances. So we did the Litoral Route from Porto to Santiago, obviously, but then we branched off and we did the spiritual variant as well. So actual Camino kilometers on that is about 320, which is about 190 miles, give or take.
We'll write this down.
Yeah, well, as always, we'll put the figures up there just to check. But one thing that we did do, and that we calculated because we use Apple Watches and everything else, is we walked in total 421 kilometres over
in
those
that period of time.
30 days. Now that includes rest days.
Yes.
Some of those rest days were like 2.5 kilometres.
But some of them were 7 and 8 kilometres. Yeah.
So that's just something to bear in mind.
It's not just the trail kilometres you walk.
We actually walked 421 kilometres, which is 30% more. So that's the equivalent of walking from Porto to Santiago, turning back round and walking all the way back down to Tui almost, which is where, some people start their Caminos.
Yeah.
So just be aware that the distances are not just the Camino miles and kilometres.
I mean, we knew that, but I don't think we had it kept in mind it would be 30% more, maybe 10% more. And with going shopping and doing your laundry and packing your bag and all that, you move around anyway.
And that's not including the sort of 17 kilometres and stuff that we did in Porto before we started. That's from day one, starting on the 24th, and then we finished on the 24th of March.
Can I jump back and do what would you do differently? I was just reminded of something. Mm-hmm. If you're going through, is it Tui, the big city? Yeah.
No, you mean the one that we went, Vigo?
Yes. If you are booking in Vigo and you're walking near the flat part, it is a very hilly town and we were not prepared for that. So the closer you can book your accommodation to the sea, the less you have to go up to it and then back down the next day. That's something to keep in mind.
I think actually someone asked us, were there any places that, as well as that we would like to spend more time, was there any places that we would have skipped? and I wouldn't say skipped.
I don't think we could. It was giant.
No, and that, you know, you can't. It's one of the places that you pass through. But for us, actually, Vigo is just, for us, it's not our kind of place.
No, I can see for some people that like big cities and, you know,
It's
maybe
a
feel a
very
bit bored
busy city.
doing. It's very busy and very big and very crowded, and it's on a hill. It's just up above.
We'd spent about 2 or so weeks walking in tranquil coastline, seeing very few people.
That fit us.
Immersed in nature, and then we walked into Vigo at the end of a long day.
With all the trucks.
Massive roadworks, noise of construction, traffic, thousands of people everywhere.
Was that the end of the very long day where we slack packed?
Yeah, I think it was.
We were tired when we got to it.
It was a bit of a culture shock to us, for us.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not big sort of city people anyway. No. So yeah, I guess Vigo was the place that I personally wouldn't have, you know, if I could have.
If that wasn't part of it, I don't think I would have missed it.
No.
Except there was the pork.
Yeah, had a nice
and the funicular
ham shop.
But that was it.
Yeah.
But that depends who you are as a person.
Yeah. I think if you were there as a group of young people or whatever, the nightlife, I would imagine, in Vigo is probably awesome. But it just wasn't our kind of place. What's next?
Okay, the last question. Are you considering other Caminos?
Yes, obviously. It would be the short answer to that.
Yeah.
We're going to do another video in the next few days of a what's next. But yes.
There will most certainly be more Caminos and not just one more. I think we are Camino people now.
Yeah, someone, a friend of ours, said he could see in our eyes.
The through hiker.
We'd been caught by the through hike bug. Yeah. Absolutely. So this is definitely not the end of our Caminos. We've been looking at various other ones, long, short, what have you. So yeah, absolutely, we will definitely be doing more Caminos.
Yeah. Because it was great.
It was, I think, one of the most wonderful experiences. We had a lot of expectations. We've been planning for 4 or 5 years to do this Camino, and it absolutely lived up to every single one of them.
I miss it.
I miss it. You can probably see, and we've had comments as well, that you could tell that we were a little bit sad. And I think I was even more sad than you were.
You were devastated. That whole day he was heartbroken, you could tell.
Yeah. I was dreading the end, and that sort of feeling, you know, like you get on a Sunday, you're going to work on a Monday kind of thing. It was that kind of on about week 3 or so. I was thinking, oh no, it's gonna, you know, the weekend's ending, the Camino's ending. So even as far as a week in before we finished, I was getting a little bit of twinges of it's going to end. And certainly on the last day, I was very sad indeed to see it end. I'm really glad, and if that's another top tip, if you can have a day or two in Santiago before you leave.
Yeah, that's worth everything.
Go home, go back to your life, go back to work, go back to whatever you're going back to.
Just to enjoy it, really.
Just try and get a couple of days, if you can, just to...
land in it, what you've done.
Soak it up. You know, we walked to the plaza every day. We had, was it 2 or 3 days?
I think 3.
3 days in Santiago. And each day we walked into the plaza to see other pilgrims coming in.
It was amazing.
It was wonderful to see these
excited, happy
hobbling,
people.
Tired, super excited people coming in. So that would be another tip, is if you can get a couple of days in Santiago, do it, because it's a good place to absorb what you've done, the enormity of the experience, and seeing other people. You know, we saw other people that we'd seen on the Camino coming in and what have you. So I think that's it. I hope that's explained how we're feeling and everything else. We've kind of come down from it.
Yes.
Now it's like Tina says,
back in normal life.
A wonderful golden memory kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like it didn't hurt at all.
Yeah. I think my legs have finally stopped aching. But it's just been fantastic, and the response from all the videos and everything else has been amazing. So we'd like to keep that going for sure.
For sure. We hope you like van life.
Yes, if you've not subscribed, subscribe now. The adventures certainly haven't stopped.
No.
Just beginning, very much. So thank you very much, everybody, as always. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you with us, isn't it, on the
Oh, definitely.
walks.
It completely added a whole new dimension we didn't even know existed.
Yeah, it was,
So
it was
thank you.
brilliant having people along pretty much live with us as we went. So take good care, everybody. We'll see you again soon in the What's Next for the Chonky Trundlers video.
Yep.
Don't miss that one. And we'll see you soon. Take good care.
Bye.
Bye.